Hello, freaks, geeks, degenerates, basement dwellers, and weird people in general. Welcome to the War Zone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. And we're gonna take a look at the front line, but the main focus will be the Syrsky Line and how that lines up with the fortress belt, with Pokrovsk and everything, and how the Syrsky Line combined with these other features might actually break the Russian army. And of course the Vatniks are gonna go, their minds are gonna explode. But I'll get to it towards the end. And the question at the end should be, can Russia realistically claim Donetsk Oblast? Let's have a look. Right, so starting off in the south this time, along the Zaporizhzhia front line, we're zooming in. We can see that Russia is launching even more airstrikes into this area. This is how they have pushed ahead here in the past couple of days, reaching roughly 2 kilometers in, I don't know how long this has taken them. Let's see here. This is on the 24th of June, and now it is the 7th of July. So that is when, well, going back further still, even here we have the beginning of the assault on the 23rd, massive rocket strikes, and that then is followed by a push, and then on the 29th, another massive rocket strike, and that is followed by push. And now we get here on the latest update more airstrikes, rocket strikes. So I guess we can assume another push in the area here in Kaminsky. We'll see how that plays out. Now something weird happening with the map. Lag. Jesus. Whoa. Calm down. Jesus. Okay. Moving on. Russia has crossed the Solona River, making a few advances here and there. Nothing major. It has taken Russia about a month to move them down here, up here. I think this is, yeah, something like this. So 14-15 kilometers is what Russia has achieved in a month. What is that, 500 meters per day on average? So I mean, they're advancing, but it's not at any major speeds whatsoever. Coming up to Mirnorad, this is interesting. Take a look at this. Jesus, what's up with all the lag? Russia has moved in over the last couple of days towards Razine, and take a look at what's this. Ukrainian shelling in Razine on the western side of the river here. Very interesting. And I wonder, do we have a bridge in this area? We have a bridge down here south of Razine. What does that tell us? Because all the other bridges, they're up here. And does that indicate that Russia has made it across down here? Let's see what we can see. Yeah, so this is, I mean, it's not that formidable river. Looking at it, zooming in, I wonder, maybe they have managed to cross up here somewhere. I mean, zooming out, it looks like it's this wide. Zooming in, it's a creek. Hard to tell. But it appears as if Ukraine is shelling Razine, at least. That it might indicate maybe Russian infantry has made it across, scouts, Spetsnaz or whatever, taking a look in this town, and now Ukraine is shelling it. So we might have Russia actually crossing the river and coming in north of Mirnorad and Pokrovsk. We're gonna return to this situation later on, towards the end of the video. I'm gonna take a more detailed look at what this might, what's going on here. Not much happening at Donetsk. Russia is really struggling moving out of Donetsk. This has taken them months and months and months trying to push out here. Not much is happening. Same thing goes for the area up here around Syrsky. I mean, it's a dead end. They made some gains here and there, but it's only a couple hundred meters. Yeah, same thing. This is interesting though. We can see here that Russia is going after the bridges. Whoop. Oh, fucking hell. What's this? Why are you messing everything up? Anyway, there's a bridge here, and if the image would have worked, we would have been able to see that Ukrainians have built some additional bridges alongside the original one, and Russia keeps hammering those with airstrikes. So Russia is trying to deny Ukraine a chance to move logistics over the Oskil River. Meanwhile, this bridge is destroyed, and we can see that the main bridge is still intact, and an indication that Russia wants it. It's interesting though that this has not evolved into anything else. Russia made a push down in Hulubivka, Radkivka, and I thought, this was an indication that they would launch a larger assault towards Kupiansk, but nothing has come of it. I wonder if that is an indication that Ukraine has put a stop to the push, or if Russia just don't have the manpower to do it. At the same time, we have this push at Milove. Russia has moved in. They've also secured some territory at Stroivka, according to other mappers. Is this up here a diversion to ease up the defenses north of Kupiansk, maybe? I mean, there seems to be some logic to it. If Russia can move along the road network here and coming in between Vovchansk and Kupiansk, if you can follow the roads here, right? It does make some sense. The question is if Russia has the manpower to do it. We'll see what happens. And moving up to Sumy and Tetkino, not much is happening at the moment. Not much is going on the maps up here. We jump over to Deep State. So I'm gonna do some drawings here. Essentially, what we know is that Ukraine is holding territory here, and they are holding territory over here, and they're in control of some territory over here. And according to the official maps released by Ukraine, Ukraine also holds this area, and and of course this blue area is also Ukrainian. So we have contested areas here. We might have some contested areas here, and also here, and maybe over here as well. And we might have some contested areas up this way as well. So this is basically the Tetkino situation, where you have Ukrainians in this corner. They've pushed across the border here and are in control of the windbreaks all over the place. May have some indications that they're operating here, and we know they've pushed into some wooded areas over here, and this is where Ukraine is at according to the official map over Tetkino, or the Tetkino area, I should say. So this is essentially the situation in Tetkino. Moving down to the Sumy area, this area here, according to Ukraine's official map over the area, is not under Russian control. Ukraine is in control of the entirety of the woods over here. There are some rumors that Ukraine has pushed into Yablonivka and are applying pressure to Oleksivka. The mappers doesn't seem to show it, but those are the rumors at least. Take those with a pinch of salt. What we do know is, though, that over at Kindrativka, Ukraine has made a push in north of the town into this valley up here, and they are apparently trying to push up into this valley as well, being in control of the valley south of Kindrativka. So that means that it does appear as if Ukraine is trying to surround and isolate Kindrativka. We'll see if they are able to do that in the end. So we have rumors about the other towns, but at Kindrativka we are seeing Ukraine applying pressure north, south, and east of the village in an attempt to isolate it by the looks of it, by following the natural terrain features that provides cover with these valleys north and east of Kindrativka. We'll see if they can pull it off in the end. What else do we cover? Well, yeah, this is this a diversion or something else? What if it isn't a diversion? It might be an attempt to push into the center of this area here, and that allows Russia potentially maybe to push out to the river, maybe move up to Vovchansk, maybe push down to Kupiansk. So it makes some sense if they have the manpower and resources to do this. And since there is some sense and logic to this move, maybe that will force Ukraine to allocate resources from Vovchansk and Kupiansk to this area, and that might ease up the situation with Russians over at Vovchansk and Kupiansk to do what they need to do in those areas. We'll see if this has a major impact on things, or if it's just, you know, a random diversion set up by the Russians. This is an interesting area at the moment. Lots of rumors from this area here. We are seeing rumors that potentially this part of the battlefield might be under Ukrainian control. The maps don't show it, but those are rumors. We may see Ukrainians pushing further through Saryzhove, according to rumors. We'll see if that plays out in any way, shape, or form. But I mean, this is an area where we have seen a lot of Ukrainian successes of late, mainly if we take a look at this area. Oh, wrong color. God damn it. In this area. Also, we have seen Ukraine doing some pushes up here, as well as in this part of the battlefield. And it is important that Ukraine has success here. Ukraine really does need to be able to push through and open up a land route between the southern regions here with the northern ones, because if Russia can push into Kupiansk and take control of that bridge we were talking about that is still up and running, if that's the case, then Russia controls the only way for Ukraine to move in logistics and reinforcements reliably to this pocket, especially since Russia is bombing all the other bridges. And if they can push into Kupiansk, then this pocket will fall. Ukraine can't hold it. Ukraine has to fall back. That is why it's important for the Ukrainians to have success in this part of the battlefield, so that they can push up and rely on the road network to bring logistics and support into this pocket up here. Yeah, that's basically it. Now we're gonna be talking about the Pokrovsk area and the impact of the new Ukrainian defensive line, the Syrsky Line, the impact it has on the defense of Pokrovsk and the area down here at large. Yeah, let's see here. Laser, here we go. So here you have what we know so far. This is the Syrsky Line highlighted in red, going all the way up here. We have Kharkiv, moving down south. This here is Kupiansk and the pocket we just talked about. And down here we have Izium, a large city, and then it comes down here. Over here we have Sloviansk and Kupiansk, moving down all the way here to Donetsk, and we have Pokrovsk and Mirnorad over here. So you can see this defensive line follows closely the large important cities. Here you have the Oskil River and what have you. And if we zoom in a bit on this area here, that means we have Pokrovsk right here, we have Donetsk over here, and we have this must be Sloviansk, and slightly south of it we have Kramatorsk and some other towns over here. Over here is Chasiv Yar. Now this line, defensive line, is, and this massive hub here is positioned in a way that it does create some issues for the Russians if they plan to push out further in the areas here surrounding Pokrovsk. That might actually be a bit too much for the Russians to handle. And now the Vatniks are gonna go apeshit loco because the Russians can't be stopped by anything, right? But let me show you what this means for future Russian advances. And let's see here. Here we go. So, using Deep State's map and some wonderful drawings to highlight what we're talking about, you can compare it here with the original map. So up here is Izium, that's up here, and as you can see, it goes down from Izium south towards Sloviansk. You can see this water feature here. That is this one right here. So that is right next to Kramatorsk, and it comes down here, and here you have this massive defensive hub at the end of this water feature right here. So around Syrsky and Dobropilia, right? Something like this. And then it continues outwards here and goes down. I don't think this is, yes, it's sort of accurate, isn't it? And we have Pokrovsk. So this is interesting. The Russians, they are stuck on Chasiv Yar. They can't push through, and they are having trouble pushing out of Donetsk. Over here you have Syrsky and the defensive lines that are also causing massive issues for the Russians. People are talking about Constantinivka. Will Russia push out and try and surround Constantinivka? Well, they can't push through Chasiv Yar. They can barely leave Donetsk. They have broken through here, pushing north somewhat. They're moving along a water feature here. But as you can see, the main push is this way, westward towards Pokrovsk. We just saw that they have actually crossed the river, since Ukraine is bombing a town to the west of this river. So they want to move in north of Pokrovsk. But we're gonna return to Pokrovsk in a moment. We're gonna stay with Constantinivka. Say that Russia wants to move in on Constantinivka. They have quite a ways to move to get there. They're struggling to get past these Ukrainian defenses. So we read the other day in ISW article that Russia was planning on potentially moving up to the west of Constantinivka to isolate it, to cut supply lines. There are some problems with this plan, if that is what the Russians are thinking about doing. This is the famous fortress belt. Like you can see, you have 4 cities here, but between each city you have like 3 or 4 smaller towns. So this is basically a massive urban chain. This is the fortress belt, and it's called that for a reason. This is one massive fortified concrete, steel, brick defensive line. So Russia can't isolate Constantinivka. Entering the fortress belt anywhere along the length of all this urban settlement is doomsday scenario for the Russians. That means drawing all the resources and manpower away from the rest of the front line just to have some form of headway in the fortress belt. Russia is currently securing something like 0.5% of Ukraine per year, and it is costing them 300,000, 400,000 casualties dead and wounded to achieve that, and that is without fighting in these large urban settlements. So imagine if they try and push in here, it's going to be a disaster. Furthermore, if they do push up to the west of Constantinople, they will be trapped between this river and the fortress belt. You can see the river here, and it is heavily fortified according to this map. So you have a fortified river all the way up to Kramatorsk essentially. So if Russia wants to push up here to isolate the fortress belt, they need to at some point cross this fortified river to push north, and what happens then? Then they end up between the fortress belt and the Syrsky Line. And here you have the water features that we were talking about right here. That means you have this box where the Russians are pushing north. They have to cross a river that gives them very few crossing points, easy to attack them with artillery and drones at these crossing locations. And then they're trapped between the Rust Belt and the Syrsky Line, and north of them you have lakes and rivers, and you have this box where Ukrainian drones can fly in from all over the place and just crush them. On top of that, every square inch of this box is pre-sighted for artillery and mortars. So pushing up to the west of the Rust Belt is just not a good plan for the Russians. So Constantinople being part of the fortress belt makes Constantinople a relative safe location, right? Russia will not waste manpower trying to push up to it and then into it. It's not going to happen. It's going to take too much resources for the Russians to pull that off, and in order to isolate it, they're going to have to move up into an area where they will be destroyed, and they can't isolate the fortress belt. There will be logistics flowing into Constantinople continuously. What Russia is... Oh yeah, just before moving down to Pokrovsk, I'm going to zoom in on this location for just a moment. Right, so the water feature here, that is this water feature. And just south of it you have another river and some lakes, and you have Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, right? So you can see here how the Syrsky Line is right next to Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. And coming up here, trying to isolate these cities, it's not gonna happen. You can't isolate the fortress belt by coming up to the west of it, because that means you're pushing up right between the urban areas and the Syrsky Line, and you are gonna get hunted down by drones all over the place. And if you do push north, you're eventually gonna reach these lakes and then these lakes, and I mean, this is a killing field. This is a kill zone. So pushing up to the west of the fortress belt, it doesn't seem like the best idea. Right. So that is this kill box here. Now, no, we're gonna wait with Pokrovsk. What the Russians might do, right, is you might argue they're gonna push down from up here to the Oskil River, and then they can set up artillery and open fire on the supply lines coming in from the north, from Izium down to Sloviansk. And you can isolate the Rust Belt that way, maybe. But then you have Lyman in a way, a large city in its own right. And that means Russia has to spend months reaching Lyman, and then gonna have to spend months fighting their way through Lyman before they can affect the supplies leading into Sloviansk, and those supplies will of course move down to Constantinople uninterrupted. Russia is struggling with Chasiv Yar. They haven't reached what's the town called? Oh, I forgot the town. There's a large town here at Enrique. They haven't pushed through the defensive lines here. They haven't left Donetsk. Constantinople, the fortress belt. It's not a viable option for the Russians. They can't push in from the north. They can't push up to the west, and it's taking too long to move in from the east. That leaves us with Pokrovsk, where Russia is actually trying to come in to the north at the moment. They're advancing down here in the south, securing territory, pushing out to the Solona River, and in doing so, they are gaining territory where they can position artillery all over the place. So they can position artillery to the east, southeast, and south of Pokrovsk and Mirnorad, and that means they can hammer the towns themselves. They can hammer positions behind Ukrainian positions. They can reach the logistical routes with drones and artillery, and they can provide fire support to push up to the west of Pokrovsk and reaching these supply lines. Now the interesting thing is here, if Russia is trying to push in across the river as we're seeing, where do they end up then? Well, they can reach Shakova and cut this supply line, and then they might try and move in to reach this supply line. But where do they end up? Between Pokrovsk and this massive defensive area up here, and just like moving up here, then they end up in a kill zone where there will be drones flying in all over the place as they're trying to cross this river with few crossing points, and they might cut one or two supply lines coming in here, but I mean they will be just completely hammered and destroyed and ripped apart by the Ukrainians with drones coming in from every angle imaginable. That leaves basically on this approach, and if they can't push in here successfully, then they have to come up here, and then they can't reach these last final two supply lines coming in from the north essentially. Where does that leave Russia? Russia will struggle to cut off Pokrovsk from supplies, and that might force Russia to push into Pokrovsk without having been able to cut the supply lines leading into the city of Pokrovsk and Mirnorad. And that leaves us with an interesting situation, because in Pokrovsk and Mirnorad, as long as a supply line is open, Ukraine has the advantage. In this area, in an urban environment like this, the defender, or the attacker I should say, needs on average a 10-to-1 advantage in every given firefight before the age of drones. Now when drones are a thing, maybe that is 15-to-1, 20-to-1. It's gonna be costly as hell for Russia to push into Pokrovsk if they haven't cut all supplies. Russia lost 80,000 casualties in Bakhmut and 40,000 down in Avdiivka. So, but say Bakhmut, 80,000 casualties, trying to take Bakhmut. In 2024, Russia lost 400,000 casualties. So imagine they're trying to push into Mirnorad and Pokrovsk, not having cut the supplies. Ukraine can keep moving in supplies and reinforcements, and Russia needs a 15 or 20-to-1 advantage in any given firefight. I mean, if Russia has to sacrifice 100,000 or 200,000 troops taking these cities, there will be no advance along any other front line. Remember, they've taken 0.5% per year essentially in 2024, and that seems to be where they're heading in 2025 as well, without entering Pokrovsk. Uh, I'm thinking that the Syrsky Line, uh, it's gonna be such a problem for the Russians in taking Pokrovsk that they will enter prematurely without having cut all supply lines, and that will allow Ukraine to mount a proper defense in Pokrovsk and Mirnorod that maybe, potentially, could actually break the Russian army if they do enter these cities prematurely. And I mean, it's interesting. This is the entirety of Ukraine. You can see how far Russia has pushed out from their defensive lines from 2022 and 2023, and it is down here at around Pokrovsk that Russia has had gains essentially, and it's roughly 1% of Ukraine when you look at it in its entirety. All of this began with the push towards Avdiivka in September of 2023. So by September of 2025, it's been 2 years hard fighting for the Russians and securing 1% of Ukraine in total. So they're losing insane amount of troops to secure the very little gains, and now on top of that, Ukraine has built this Syrsky line that basically goes something like that, right? And on top of that, you have the fortress belt, you have Pokrovsk and Mirnorod, and you have water features and rivers that are fortified in the area. As you can see, it's gonna be difficult for Russia to make further headway in the area. It's gonna be destructive as hell if they want to push out and take the entirety of Donetsk Oblast, which of course is Ukraine's plan. Ukraine has built this defensive line to support the fortress belt, to support Pokrovsk, in order to make it as destructive as possible for Russia to continue pushing in Donetsk Oblast. And that is why I'm thinking maybe Russia will move troops away from Donetsk and maybe push through Zaporizhia instead. Wrong color as always, and move through Zaporizhia instead. Or maybe move in to Sumy, where Ukraine does not have these fortified locations, where they don't have these kill zones in place. Maybe Russia can secure all of the territory if they can have a proper breakthrough somewhere and move down to the Dnieper River instead. Maybe, you never know, to bypass all of these defensive lines. Because Donetsk Oblast, it's gonna take years for Russia to do this, and the question is if they can sustain the war for that long with the casualties they've taken without pushing into these formidable defensive locations. It's just, if this is where they want to fight, Ukraine can win the war. But should Russia allocate manpower elsewhere to try and bypass these defenses, then maybe they can have a proper breakthrough and surround Ukrainians instead of pushing through these deadly killing fields.